top of the hour. I'm just trying to see if I can let people in at the same time if attendees come in. Okay. Can you see all my slides, Lacey? Or the slides, should I say? Awesome. Okay. And welcome everybody to the webinar, The Performance Formula. We're going to get started in 2 minutes at the top of the hour. Just waiting for people to come in, but welcome to the webinar that will make the difference for your little athlete. And in a minute, we'll introduce ourselves. Okay. Hi, anybody who's joined us. We are going live, just to let you know, we're live on Facebook. So you can join us through there if you want to. And we're going to talk about the performance formula, how to get your young athlete, youth athlete, from the back of the bench to the starting mound every time. So then, Miss Lacey, are we ready to rock and roll?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Welcome, welcome. So, oops. I'm Lynn Donaldson and my good friend Lacey Simmons. If you want to say hi, Lacey.
Hello, nice to meet you guys. I'm excited to join you and share a little bit more about kind of my son's journey and the power of really what Lynn is able to help all young athletes unlock.
Perfect, thank you. Lacey and I have been friends for a long time, and I have had the honor of coaching her wonderful son, who you're going to get to meet later on, but that's for later. But let's have a look at the numbers. Baseball is all about stats. There are 20 million baseball players, and 3 million of these make their high school team. 3,000 play college football, baseball, sorry, whoops, and 761 make it to the major leagues. Now, this is also an important point in terms of 95% of Fortune 500 executives participated in high school athletes. And why is that? Because it takes decades of sweat equity to bring whatever a leader possesses to fruition. And we simply won't follow someone who hasn't demonstrated determination. This determination serves athletes well in their future activities. So not only are you an elite athlete, but you're likely to be in one of the Fortune 500 executives in the US. What can we do to get our athletes on the path of success? Because what we want to do is make sure that they are soaring in their baseball games every single time. There are the 3 Ps. Most people focus on the performance. Do you have the skills? Do you have the right skills? Are you playing in the right position? Can you hit and I may be talking out of turn on baseball terms, please excuse me. Lacey's the baseball mom, she's got all the terms. But can you pitch at the right speed? Can you hit and get to the right distance? But there's something that's underlying when these athletes are playing, and it's the pressure. Can they perform these skills consistently? Because they need to, time after time after time. And that's where perseverance comes in. When you've had a bad pitch or you've had a bad hit, do you beat yourself up, or do you go back and think, okay, I didn't do it this time, but next time I'll get it? It's about bouncing back so that you can continue to soar every single game, so that one bad hit or one bad pitch doesn't derail your whole game. This is where we meet young Kavanagh. And Lacey, I'm going to hand over to you as the baseball mom.
Thank you. So as Lynn mentioned, I think as baseball parents and also coaches too that might be watching, we get so focused on the physical abilities, right? The physical skills, the performance piece. And so I fell, I don't know if victim is the right word, but fell into that same kind of mindset as well. And so the first year my son played travel, I wanted him to have all the things, be all the things, and get all the opportunities. And so for me, kind of coming from this coaching and personal development space, the best way that I thought to do that for him would be to get him private lessons, to get him pretty much a coach or a trainer for each each facet of the game. And so as you can see, I was spending a lot of money, right? And so not even just on the trainers, but then also trying to get him in different opportunities. So we did a lot of guest playing. We traveled all over the country in different opportunities for him to, play for teams that were just put together for tournaments so that he could really get used to being in those high pressure situations, but also having fun, right? But having fun in a different environments each time to really flex his ability to be, agile and persistent. And so although we were doing all these things and I was investing all this money and he was doing all this training, we weren't really seeing the results. And so if you go to the next slide. And so although he was pretty much one of the best trained kids on the field, we weren't seeing that in terms of how he was showing up at the plate. I went back and looked at some of his stats from some of his PG tournaments he played in, or perfect game tournaments, and he was consistently striking out, like going 0 for 3, 0 for 4 with nothing but strikeouts. And so, as a mom that's spending, upwards of $2,000 a month on training and different baseball opportunities, you kind of get to a point where you're like, what's going on, right? My son is getting frustrated because he feels great in practice, feels great with his trainers. They agree, they kind of give the gold seal of approval in terms of what he should be able to do. And then we get to these games and tournaments and he's not performing at his best, right? And then that starts to rattle his confidence. And so I realized in that moment, like I was focused so much on the P part or the performance, that first P, that obviously there was something that we were missing. And that, in order for me to make that shift so that he could show up powerfully and show what he's able to perform, there was going to have to be something different that we were going to have to do. If you go to the next slide. And so we fast forward now, he just finished his 12U fall season, pretty much almost like 180-degree transformation. Before, because he wasn't really able to show up during the games, he wasn't getting the opportunities. If he batted last. Pitching, he had been, trained as a pitcher, very great, pitcher, but never got the opportunity to pitch. And part of it was because he wasn't showing up at the plate batting. And so he wasn't even given the opportunity, unfortunately, to even field or show what he could do as an infielder or as a pitcher. But now fast forward, we've figured out what that missing piece is. And I won't spoil the surprise, but of course, Lynn will fill you in on that missing piece. But once we figured out what that missing piece was and got him that piece of the puzzle that we didn't have before, I mean, each game he blows me away at how well he's showing up, how advanced his baseball IQ is, how adaptable he is of being able to play with different teams, some teams of kids he just met for the first time, and then being able to open up even more doors to bigger opportunities and bigger platforms for visibility, all by us tweaking one thing, right? And it wasn't the thing that I think a lot of us as baseball parents and coaches think about, right? It wasn't more training. It wasn't more nutrition. It wasn't more cardio. It wasn't all those physical things. It was actually something else that, thanks to Lynn's support, we were able to really figure out and unlock. If you go to the next slide. And so now some of his stats, I mean, I would show you his stats before, but to be honest, they were pretty much all zeros. They were really low, right? Considering how much we were investing. But in just, I think it's been exactly 13 months of him doing training plus this additional piece that we'll talk about soon, like his growth chart has been off the charts. And so he went from, and actually now this is almost even outdated, he's now up 20 miles per hour for his pitching speed with his fastball in game. And he's been getting the opportunities to pitch. He's a starting pitcher. He'll come in and actually pitch sometimes as a guest player for teams that are already formed. And he's on this streak now where he's had several given up 0 runs and pretty much 1 walk, 1 or 2 walks, if that. And so even at the bat, when he comes up to bat, strong power hitter, he's able to actually show the way that he can perform consistently, where it's not just this, one time hit a hit, get a hit, next time 4 strikeouts. He's striking out, because he's being aggressive at the plate, but he's also has, one of the highest on-base percentages of his team, one of the highest hitting averages on his team, right? He's finishing up the fall season with, I think, 6 or 7 home runs. So, he's on this trajectory with this piece that Lynn has really equipped him with to be able to really show up more powerfully than we ever could with thousands of dollars of training a month. And so his secret weapon, and I'm sure, Lynn can also walk you through this piece too, was the mindset part. And so as an athlete, especially with my guy, like he was training, he was doing the work, he was putting in the extra hours, the extra reps, but it wasn't getting him the results that he wanted. And so that started to rattle his confidence. And so you can imagine, that rattles your confidence. The next time you go up to bat, you're anxious, right? You're in your head. You're thinking about maybe the error you made the inning before, or the strikeout you had the last time you were up at bat. it doesn't put you in a powerful place to be able to show how well trained you are, right? Or the skill set that you can bring to the table or to the team. And so working with Lynn on a weekly basis with his mindset, we saw almost immediate results. I think the first time he had a session with Lynn was like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. That following weekend that he went into a tournament, he hit his very first over the fence home run, right? And so it's those small little shifts that I think a lot of us like, oh, just get it out your mind, get over it, forget about it. That's so easy for us to say in our adult perspective, but for an 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old, where it really does take a toll on how they view themselves or their abilities. And then God forbid, if you have a coach or teammates that might be saying something, and also the pressure they put on themselves, it's not as easy as just telling them to get over it, right? There really are specific tools that we can equip them with from a mindset perspective that really help them show up in a way that just training alone can't help them do.
Thanks, Lacey. I'm just going to go into this a little bit more detail before I move on. One of the things we did with Kavanaugh was really helping to visualize, to imagine hitting the ball time after time after time, and connecting and seeing the ball soaring. Because there's a bit in your brain that's called the reticular activating system that is a bit like, it doesn't know the difference between truth and reality. And if you tell it time and time again that this is what's going to happen, your brain then helps you make that happen. So we actually did this exercise over and over where he would visualize at night or before a game, he would visualize actually hitting the ball the furthest, or he would visualize pitching and a perfect pitch. And there was at one point where he was lifting his foot as he pitched. So we visualized him actually not lifting his foot as he pitched so that he could pitch perfectly. And this was an amazing achievement for him. He's taken everything I've said on board with such enthusiasm, and it's lovely to see him soaring. But we grounded this basically in goals. What did he want to achieve? Because he knew exactly what he wanted, and then we're just making it happen. And again, one of the other things that we used was the box breathing. So this box breathing is breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. And what that did for Kavanaugh was help him ground before he went into any game. So if he's getting nervous because your nervous system starts firing and you go into fight, flight, or freeze, if you can do the box breathing, it will calm your nervous system down and give you clarity. And then with the visualization exercises that he'd done, he was able to move into the next step. He was calm, he was confident. We use this term, quietly confident. So he's not being Mr. Cocky, he's being Mr. Quietly Confident. And that was amazing to see. I've probably gone a little bit off track, but I get excited about these things, I'm sorry. So we talked about the 3 Ps, and as Lacey said, I mean, she spent a fortune. She's one of these super moms who really wants to do best by Kavanaugh. She was giving him every opportunity she could. She was traveling around the country, 24 hours drive just to take Kavanaugh to a game. And that was amazing to see. And it was disappointing for both of them when they were both putting so much effort in, and they were really trying to build their skills, and they were seeing no results. But when we looked at the pressure that Kavanaugh was under and putting himself under, because these children do, they're trying to perform, they're trying to be their best. I know what Kavanaugh's goals are, so we helped him really think about how he could perform consistently with the visualizations, with the breathing. But perseverance, I have never seen a child with such perseverance. He will go to the nth degree to to achieve his goals. And that's all kudos to Kavanaugh and his mom, because that takes a lot in a child of 11, 12 years old. He's coming up 12, but it takes a lot for that perseverance. And it's those 3 things that come together that make Kavanaugh who he is today, and how he's already soaring, and he's going to go far. But what happens if they fail? When they fail on the performance, like I said, if you go out and you pitch and you have a bad pitch. Kavanaugh was telling me about a game that he went to where it was a tournament, where the first game they lost. But everybody in the team probably with the exception of Kavanaugh, but the coaches and the team were so disappointed